All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for day number 19 of Donald Trump's hush money trial, where Trump attorney Todd Blanche is continuing his cross-examination of former Trump attorney and self-proclaimed fixer Michael Cohen, who admitted this morning on stand, he admitted to stealing from the Trump organization. Yes, crazy, right? He admitted to stealing from the Trump organization. But of course, we get to hear everything that was said in the courtroom today, thanks to our guy on the inside, Inner City Press, who is reporting from inside the courtroom and giving us a look at everything that is going on, what the judge is saying, what the prosecution is saying, and yes, of course, what Trump's defense is saying. But this morning, Todd Blanche continued to expose Michael Cohen's true character. So we already know that Michael Cohen is a liar. And not only has he lied in the past, admittedly, to several judges, to Congress, to grand juries, but he has also lied in this very trial. And now Todd Blanche is going after Michael Cohen for being a thief, because when he was directly asked about a reimbursement that Cohen requested from the Trump organization, where the amount that he actually paid was $30,000 less than what he requested, so basically he stole $30,000. And when he was asked about whether he stole this from the Trump organization, he said yes.
And Cohen confirms that he owed Red Finch $50,000 and never paid the full cash. Trump's attorney, Blanche, says, "You stole from the Trump organization." Cohen says, "Yes, sir." He also confirms lying to Alan Weisselberg. I don't know how many that is on the list, but that's another prevarication. And Cohen says he never pleaded guilty to larceny. On they go. Blanche presses Cohen. "You did steal from the Trump organization based upon the expected reimbursement of Red Finch." And he says, "Yes, sir."
So he actually said twice that he stole from the Trump organization. But this is a full context here. Michael Cohen admitted that he stole $30,000 from the Trump organization when, as part of his reimbursement for the Stormy Daniels reimbursement, he requested $50,000 for a reimbursement for IT services when Cohen actually paid $20,000 for the services. But also, Donald Trump, on his way to trial this morning, ran into this gentleman walking down the sidewalk, and listen to this.
Yo, Trump, tell him you innocent, bro. You innocent. I remember that, bro.
So Trump says it's not a prosecution, it is a persecution. And yes, that is indeed correct. But also there are a string of high-profile individuals joining Donald Trump today in the courtroom. Some of the more notable ones we have Vernon Jones, Kash Patel, Alan Dershowitz, Representative Mary Miller, AG Alan Wilson, Representative Eric Burleson, and Representative Andrew Clyde, and Representative Keith Self. And of course, Donald Trump gave his daily press conference before walking into court this morning, and this is what he had to say.
This all comes from the White House. It all comes from the DOJ and the White House. Take a look who's in the room. This all comes from the DOJ and the White House. It's an attack on Biden, who's mentally unfit. He's mentally unfit to be the president of this country. It's an attack on his political opponent. That's all it is. All of the things you saw over the last 4 weeks, most of it should have never even been brought up. And then on top of that, there's no crime. And we go on day after day, and I tell Iowa, I'm sorry, I won't be able to make it. I tell New Hampshire, sorry, I won't be able to make it. I'm sitting in an icebox all day.
But Donald Trump, of course, is absolutely right. There are so many things wrong with this case against Donald Trump. This should be considered prosecutorial misconduct, in my opinion, because what they are doing, and just the whole thing surrounding this case, Judge Merchan, the lawyers, the lawyer from Biden's administration and the Obama administration, it's very, very suspicious. But without any further ado, let's go back into the courtroom where Trump has arrived in a blue suit and a lighter blue tie. That's great choice, Donald Trump. Wow, looking sharp again. And protesters are heading north on Center Street. I guess there are protesters outside. I know they have a area around the courthouse barricaded off. But Donald Trump is whispering in Todd Blanche's ear. He's like, "Go get him, Tiger. I believe in you. You can do this. You've been doing a great job. All rise." And the clerk says, "This is the people of the state of New York versus Donald J. Trump." And Judge Merchan enters. He says, "All right, good morning, Mr. Trump. Thank you for coming in early. It's become apparent we won't be able to sum up tomorrow. Looks like evidence will end this week with summations next Tuesday." And we have the prosecutor, Susan Hoffinger, standing up. And she says, "Your Honor, if Mr. Costello testified, this is hearsay." And Todd Blanche says this email from Mr. Costello's colleague is a direct impeachment of Mr. Cohen. And Hoffinger says this is just the opinion of Mr. Citron. Now Blanche says, "But it was sent to Mr. Cohen." And Merchant says, I'm not going to allow it in. Surprise, surprise there. Blanche says, well, the people offered emails to Mr. Cohen just like this, and they were admitted. And Merchant says, I'm not going to allow it in. So once again, we see the double standard. The judge allowing the prosecution to admit something. And then when the defense wants to admit the exact same evidence, he says no. But Blanche says, I'll show him the email and then potentially offer it. And Merchant says, what would you ask him? Blanche says, if he answered, if not, it would be an admission by inaction. And Merchant says, nope, I'm not going to allow it. And now Judge Merchant says, and here is my ruling on Brad Smith. The defendant proposes to ask him about definitions, but he would have to interpret federal law. This would result in the battle of the experts, which would confuse the jury. This has been rejected by the Southern District of New York Federal Judge Lewis Kaplan in U.S. versus Bankman-Fried. And now we have Trump's lawyer, Emile Beauvais, and he says, Judge, the irrespectful rule is critical to the jury understanding the government's charges in this trial. Things changed when both sides submitted proposed instructions on FECA. Your Honor has not indicated on instructing on FECA. And he continues, it's not a good position for a lawyer to be asking questions to the court, but it would help us to know how you intend to instruct the jury. And Merchant says, the way I instructed the jury in People v. the Trump org, less is better. You could have come to me for an earlier ruling. Just relax. I'll let you know at the pre-charge conference. And Beauvais says, since February, now FECA is buried under the NYS election law. Merchant says, make me an offer of proof. Now Blanche says, if we could approach Your Honor, they have a sidebar. Trump sits at the defense table, and Alan Dershowitz is on the front row of the gallery behind him. And Judge Merchant says, we'll start at 9:30, and they're back, and they're bringing the witness in. Judge Merchant says, let's see if you can agree on the definitions and get it to me. Let's get the witness, please. And now we have Michael Cohen, liar, liar, pants on fire, taking the stand, and he is wearing a purple tie today. If you see right here, his pants are on fire because he is, in fact, a liar. And not only that, but he is also a thief. So it's double trouble today. And we have the jury entering, and Todd Blanche says, all right, Mr. Cohen, welcome back. Since Thursday, how many reporters have you spoken to? Cohen says, I spoke to reporters, but not about this case. Well, this year, how often have you spoken with the prosecutors? Cohen says 20 or so times. Last time, 10 days ago. And they asked you questions similar to what they asked you on the stand? Cohen says, yes. But I heard many questions from Ms. Hoffinger that I had not heard before. And you were shown documents that you were not shown last week, correct? Yes. Now, Mr. Cohen, do you know Dan Goldman? Cohen says, yeah, he's a member of Congress. And how many times did you meet with him before testifying to Congress? Cohen says twice. And that was one of the times that you lied. On Stormy Daniels, you said you spoke with President Trump. It was about that issue. Cohen says, yes. And did you speak with Mr. Pecker about a potential extortion of Tiffany Trump about photographs? Cohen says, yes, sir. Now Blanche says, all right, Mr. Cohen, do you know John Lydon? And Cohen says he's a mortgage broker out of Florida. And what is his company? Resolution Consultants. Okay, let me show you People's Exhibit B130. Do you see a text message from someone called Carrie? I believe so. Well, do you or do you not? Cohen says, I do. And Carrie is John Lydon's wife, asking about medallions, correct? Yes, sir. And you were having financial problems with Mr. Friedman? Yes. He was having marital problems. I tried to bring them back together or to help him find a lawyer. And did you help him find a place to live? Objection, says the prosecution. And they have a sidebar. Now Blanche continues. He says, you opened Resolution Consultants. You didn't open it because you were considering doing a deal with the Florida firm? Cohen says, no. You were in London. Did you communicate about a suit against Mr. Pecker? I did. And you were sent a video link about the niece of MLK supporting President Trump? Yes, I was. And all of this was happening in the week of October 24th, 25th, and 26th? Cohen says, yes. And Tiffany Trump, that was at the same time? Yes. Now, do you recall what President Trump was doing? Cohen says, no, sir. Blanche says, I show you this. Objection, says the prosecution. Sustained. Now Blanche says, it's a sit-down interview with his family on ABC. Objection, sustained. Now Blanche continues. He says, so on the day, you didn't speak with President Trump about any of these matters. Cohen says, it was Stormy Daniels that personally concerned me. Well, you said $130,000 for Daniels and $50,000 for Red Finch for polling. Is that correct? Yes. And now we get into this theft that Cohen committed. And Blanche says, but you only paid Red Finch $20,000. How did you get it for him? Cohen says, I took it out of TD Bank over several days. And Blanche asks, was it in a duffel bag? Cohen says, no, in a brown paper bag. Well, you were square with him, right? Cohen says he said he would have liked the $30,000. But Alan Weisselberg grossed up to $100,000. So you stole from the Trump organization. Is that correct? Cohen says, yes, I did. And have you been prosecuted for larceny or even made to pay it back? Cohen says, no, sir. So you stole from the Trump organization. Yes, I did, says Cohen. Now Blanche says, if you had a retainer agreement, it would have been with Mr. Trump, correct? Cohen says, yes. And now Blanche says, okay, let me show you People's Exhibit B260. This is your email with Mr. Weisselberg forwarding from Normal Ornelas. And now put up People's Exhibit 1. This is the email from Alan Weisselberg to Jeff McConney. Why would Don Jr. and Eric approve your payments? Cohen says, they were on the board of trust. And now Blanche asks, in 2017, you used personal attorney to President Trump? Yes, I did. And you told TMZ you gave a little scoop to the New York Times about it. Cohen says, yes, I was proud of the role. All right, let's put up People's Exhibit B261. It's an email. Do you recognize it? Your farewell email to the Trump organization? Yes. Judge Bertrand says, admitted. And you worked on a real lawsuit with filings due with Mark Kasowitz, correct? Yes. All right, let's show People's Exhibit B237. These are subpoenas of the State Department. Did you do something on this? Cohen says, yes, sir. And in May of 2017, Robert Mueller was appointed, but it was Mr. Kasowitz, at least initially, who represented Mr. Trump on that. How did that make you feel? Cohen says, probably happy. You also did work for Melania Trump, correct? Cohen says, on personal matters. Okay, let's talk about your consulting clients. Starting with AT&T. Look at this. They paid you $50,000 a month. For how long? Cohen says, for 1 year. Consulting and advisory work. And what did you actually do, Mr. Cohen? Well, they wanted to acquire TW. And Blanche says, for 20 calls, you got $1 million? Nothing wrong with that, right? Cohen says, that's right. Well, how about Columbus Nova? How long? Cohen says, was supposed to be a year, but it was 6 months. And you never told President Trump about this. Cohen says, it was President Trump who introduced me to the CEO of AT&T. But you know Mr. Trump was frustrated you were getting paid to advise AT&T. Objection, says the prosecution. Sustained, says Judge Merchan. Were there clients you rejected like Avenue Ventures? Cohen says they wanted lobbying. And BTA Bank, how much did they pay you? Cohen says it was supposed to be $150,000. It ended after 3 months. Also, Franklin Haney, he had a nuclear facility. And Blanche continues, well, in 2018, when the Stormy Daniels payments leaked, you told many people that President Trump knew nothing about it. Cohen says, yes, I did. And did you tell people you told Melania that President Trump didn't know? Cohen says, I don't remember. Did you tell the BBC there was no way you would have told President Trump? And did you record the call with the BBC? Cohen says, yes and yes. And until the April 2017 FBI raid, you said President Trump knew nothing. Cohen says, yes. And on 4/17/2017, you met with Mr. Costello. Cohen says, yes, I met with him and Jeff Citron. And then you had multiple communications with Mr. Costello. How many was it? Cohen says 10 calls. All right, let me show you People's Exhibit B1006. Look at the redacted email from Mr. Costello. You asked Mr. Costello to ask Mr. Giuliani to find out how it ended up at the Southern District of New York and how Main Justice approved it, correct? Cohen says correct. All right, let's look at this other exhibit. Would it surprise you that you had 75 calls with Mr. Costello? Cohen says, well, he reached out. Blanche says, well, there are 9 hours of calls, 2 in-person meetings, all privileged, right? Cohen says it was in anticipation of possible representation. Blanche says, okay, look at this exhibit. Emails. You said great for Rudy. Then in June, you emailed about the YouTube video. Why send this to me? Yes. And Todd Blanche continues. Then on June 14th, on Trump's campaign to discredit Cohen already underway, you told Mr. Costello they are going down a bad path, right? Cohen says, yes. And you were discussing who was going to pay for Mr. Costello. Cohen says MWE was invoicing. And you made $4.5 million in 18 months. But how did you get money between your guilty plea and the publication of your book? Cohen says, I had no income. I started my podcast in the fall of 2020. And how much do you make from your 2 podcasts? Cohen says $400,000. Wow. And Blanche continues, you're pitching a TV show based on your life. Cohen says, there is a TV show. A guy who worked on Mea Culpa is working on it. And has it been picked up? Cohen says no. And Judge Bertrand says, all right, let's break here. And ladies and gentlemen, we are also going to break. And I will come back with a second video this afternoon. But what do you guys think of all this? What do you think about Michael Cohen? I mean, he's already been exposed as a liar. And now he is admitted to stealing. So he's a liar and a thief. What do you think the jury is going to think about this? I know that New York is a very Democrat, blue, liberal state, and New York City is like the worst part of the New York state. But even I would be extremely surprised if this jury convicts Donald Trump, because at this point, Michael Cohen's reputation is in shatters. It's completely destroyed. But let me know what you think about all this. Comment down below. Like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.